Okay, so let's call this special meeting of the Hindley Homes and Royal Building Committee to order at 6:02 p.m. on August the 7th, 2024. This is a special meeting to consider and take action on the pay application number 1 and pay application number 2 for each of Hindley Homes and Royal School. These are the pay applications that have been submitted through the process prepared by ONGAP and reviewed by KG&D and certified by KG&D in accordance with the invoice approval and payment processing memo of September 14th, 2024 that we're operating under. We're considering both pay application number 1, which is for the month of May 2024, and pay application number 2, which is for June of 2024, because those were basically certified on the same timeline, and will then get into a more regular schedule of reviewing and taking action on pay applications on a monthly basis. Tom or Patrick or Jill or Sarah, do you guys have any questions about either? Oh, Paige is joining, so I'll stop for just a second.
I just let her in, so she should be here.
Hi, Paige. Just 2 seconds, I'll go back to where we were with Paige. What I had said is we're meeting to consider the May and June pay applications for each of the schools that ONGAP had prepared and KG&D had reviewed and certified. And pursuant to the February 2024 memo that governs how we're handling and reviewing pay applications and invoice payments, ONGAP prepares, KG&D reviews and approves. They then submit it to the building committee for approval. And then what happens is assuming we approve these pay applications, Jill and I sign them. They go to Jen Charneski, who then sends them to the public school district for coding, and then Jen puts them in line for payment. And payment usually occurs on the Wednesday of each week. We're backed up and have May and June at the same time, just because these are the first ones, and the process got, was kind of getting figured out as between the construction manager and the architect. Sarah had included the pay applications for each of the schools in the meeting email from last evening. And I wanted to, before I called for motions, I wanted to see if anybody had any questions on either the applications themselves or the process.
I have a quick question, Chris. What is OS&G using as guidance to approve those incentives?
I'm sorry, what is who using?
You said who approves them and sends to you?
The architect, the construction manager, ONGAP, prepares them on a monthly basis, and then they're reviewed for conformity with the contract documents and on-site observations by the architect.
Great, thank you.
One last process note going forward, we'll have these once a month as part of our regular meeting. This was just, again, a snafu between our contractor and architect.
And Jill, I would think since we're doing 2 for each school, unless you think otherwise, can we do 3 motions? So there'll be 2 pay applications approved for Hindley, 2 approved for Holmes, 2 approved for Royal.
That's
fine.
The
motion, what's that?
That's fine, yes.
Yeah. And Sarah, I'll send you wording for the motion, but the wording will be, can I get a motion to approve pay application number 1 and pay application number 1 dated May 31st, 2024 for Holmes Elementary School in the amount of $291,129, and pay application number 2 dated June 30, 2024 for Holmes Elementary School in the amount of $858,087.66. Can I get a motion? Tom
So moved.
moves. Can I get a second? Jill
Second.
seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. That passes. Can I get a motion? Let me open these up. Can I get a motion to approve pay application number 1 dated May 31st, 2024 for Royal School in the amount of $280,046.13, and pay application number 2 dated June 30, 2024 for Royal School in the amount of $738,988.91. Can
So
I get a
moved.
motion? Tom moves. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Last one. Can I get a motion to approve pay application number 1 dated May 31st, 2024 for Hindley Elementary School in the amount of $547,304.34, and pay application number 2 dated June 30, 2024. Uh-oh, this one's not downloading for me. Hang on. Waiting for my
The amount
computer
of
on this.
$853,590.62.
What Paige said. Can I get that motion, please? Tom moves. Can I get a second? Paige
Second.
seconds. All in favor? Aye.
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 Great. Everything passed unanimously. Sarah, what I'll do is I'll send you the format language, and you can just fill in the schools and the dates and the amounts from the PDFs that you would send around to put it in the record. And then we'll sign each of those pay applications, and they'll go into process for payment. And then obviously, just lastly, before we break, I think this is the first time we've met as a committee since Dave Martin's passing. So actually, Paige and Tom, coincident, one of the things while at the same, I'm sorry, Sarah, are you?
I've got most.
What's that?
I'm sorry?
Sarah?
It's fine. It was from a few minutes ago. It's fine. It was from a few minutes ago. My connection is terrible. Ignore me for now.
Never mind. We still have to, we're still obviously mourning Dave's passing and realizing what a big set of shoes we have to fill. But I know, Paige, we had talked a little bit about this at the OAC meeting. And we were kind of thinking, Paige, you and Tom maybe spearheading the financial side of the project and, teaming up to take over what Dave had been doing. We have Jameson and Paul have agreed to kind of oversee change orders and the review of the change orders as that process moves forward. Obviously, a lot of the work that Dave was involved in is already done, right? The putting together the appropriation approvals and the budget and working on that. But I think there's going to be, interacting with Jen Charneski and whoever is newly appointed to the Board of Finance, and that the Board of Finance appoints to liaise with our committee. But we kind of thought that you guys might be, because of your backgrounds and your facility with this stuff, might be the right folks to maybe split that role between the two of yourselves.
Probably with the Board of Finance member.
Correct. And I don't know that I have a detailed job description. I think it's going to evolve. There'll be sort of a figure it out component to this.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help with that,
That would be great.
Yeah,
Chris. I will. I will. I'm glad you referenced the lack of job description. I don't know that I have a firm grasp on it right now, but happy to figure it out.
Understood. I mean, I think initially it's a catching up, reviewing, probably doing more of a deeper dive into the budget and the appropriation approvals and things like that. So you're familiar with what we've got.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the day-to-day legwork is going to be done by Jen as she tracks payment applications and change orders against our budget on a school by school basis, and she's set up to do that, and she did that for Ox Ridge. So there'll probably be a fair amount of interacting with her. Jill, thoughts on that one way or another?
I think that's accurate. I think at this stage in the process, it's worthwhile to go back and see how we got to this point, but really we are really focused on governance at this point. So yes, a lot of the heavy lifting will be APO&G, KG&D doing their double check of what's going on. And then we're kind of the third tier, making sure that the finances are as we expected, that change orders, as if and when they come through, are in line with our overall financial planning, and making sure that that the committee is caught up and always up to speed on where we are financially. And of course, so what we'd be tracking closely are just our run rate, and then the impact to contingency, and also we'll be tracking soft costs because those are not inside of the construction manager contract. So nothing is rocket science here, but it's great to have specific eyes who know that they are the folks who are the front lines of keeping an eye on things. So we appreciate it. Thank you both.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? I'm not sure I totally understand the breakdown between the role of reviewing the change orders versus tracking the overall financial picture. So I understand like the run rate question, to your point, Jill, makes sense, but it seems like at this stage in the project, so much of having an eye on the finances will be around tracking the change orders and how we're doing relative to our remaining contingency.
Yeah, fundamentally, there's a tiered process for going through any given change order. So, below a certain level, the project team's really going to make that decision, or if it's, under the construction manager contingency, they're going to make that decision. If it hits a certain threshold, then there is that construction oversight committee. And so we'll need to talk about how that's constituted, because that's just a couple of folks. There'll be finance and construction folks who would be looking at that in addition to Chris and myself. Beyond that, if it passes a significant enough threshold, it's a whole committee level decision, in which case you want folks with a construction background to weigh in on what they think the construction implications are. You want finance people to weigh in on what they think the financial implications are. And of course, we want to make sure that it's in line with what anything would be in line with what we're trying to accomplish educationally. But none of these decisions would be a truly financial versus a construction decision. All of those things would interplay.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interaction, Paige. I guess I was thinking of Paul and Jameson's role as more construction focused, so that and overseeing, O&G, if you recall from the OAC meeting, they kind of went through what the change order process would look like, where they would have a suggestion from the contract, from the sub. They would talk to the sub. They would then go to KG&D and say, this was proposed by the sub. We think we should do it. KG&D would review it, but then it would go to, let's say Paul and Jameson for the utility of it. Do we need it? Is it necessary? Obviously, how much it's going to cost is going to be a part of that. But I was thinking of it more from the pure construction standpoint, would be kind of those guys. And then you guys obviously would be involved in that conversation as well before it came to the larger committee as to, is this the best deal we can get for this change order?
Yeah.
Where's this coming from? Is it coming from owner's contingency? Is it coming from CM's contingency?
Mhm.
If we do this, how much of our contingency are we using? Are we ahead of schedule, behind schedule, et cetera?
Yeah.
And if that sound
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
okay. And then, and then there's a logging part of it as well. And I think, ONG would be logging the change orders and keeping track of them. And I think a big part of your guys' role would be sort of overseeing their reporting on the financial side of the change orders as they're incurred and as they're paid for. And it's just, I think it's checks and balances, right? Jen Charnesky is going to be looking at them. You guys are going to be looking at them. We're going to be kind of looking over their shoulders.
Jen will own the financial reporting. So, but
Yeah.
You guys need to work with her to figure out we haven't ended up with a final format. So we need to pick a final format on what the monthly financial reporting looks like. And then, you guys would be front lines on being a both understanding what's in it, being a double check, et cetera, et cetera.
And I mean, that raises Jill, it probably makes sense. I don't know, Tom or Paige, you guys are both relatively new to town. I don't know if you've met Jen.
I don't think so.
She is the town finance director. And then she has a counterpart in the school district by the name of Rich Rudel, who is the school district finance director, and they work very, very closely together where anything touches the schools. It might not be a bad idea, Jill, for us to introduce these guys to Jen, and then you guys and Jen can talk about best format for reporting. What did she do for Ox Ridge? How could it be streamlined / improved or different for these 3 schools, et cetera? But it probably starts with an introductory meeting with her that we can work on setting up.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, obviously, if Jen has a format that worked well for her on Ox Ridge, then I don't want to impede that. But it, to the extent that we can review and make sure it's in the most helpful format possible before we get going.
Right.
She's working on something now. So she has Ox Ridge. She has what we did for the cafeteria. She's getting us some stuff now. We should have.
Yeah, maybe what we do is once she's produced that, maybe we just go down to her office and we introduce you guys to her and we can sit and look at that and, you guys can give your input.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. With that, could I get a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting? Tom moves, Jill seconds, all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for making the time to do this.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for your quick responses last night.
And our next meeting, I believe, is the 21st. So
yes,
and then we have our next OAC is on the 16th. So I hope everyone stays well. I just found out today, 2 of my daughters. My middle daughter flew to Vienna last night to meet up with my oldest daughter because they were going to the Taylor Swift concert tomorrow night, which has now been canceled. All the Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna have been canceled because the Austrian police broke up a potential terror plot.
Oh, wow.
My daughters are now in Vienna with no Taylor Swift concerts to go to. So I guess they're going to tour around Vienna for a few days.
Oh boy.
There are worse places to be.
Oh,
right. They could be in the Meadowlands, right?